Well, here we are, looking at contradictions. We finished. No one has seen God, yet some passages indicate that they have seen God. We looked at that. It's a matter of proper reading. The next item is the Bible does not teach that the earth is flat. Years and years of religiosity and people thinking, because of lack of scientific advancement, that the earth is flat because they're looking straight out, and they figured that you go as far out in the ocean as they can see and you fall off. The religious groups that thought that the Bible was authoritative on such matters did not even resort to looking in the Bible itself. A rather common accusation today made against the Bible in skeptical circles, is that it teaches a view that promulgates a flat earth and contains other primitive cosmological natural data like a solid dome sky. Here we'll have a look at some of the verses commonly used to assert these positions. The solid dome sky is the description of it before the flood. And it was indeed, if you looked up, solid. It was ice. The water vapor, the water was so high up, it solidified so hard that it became crystalline, and it was solid and translucent, so the stars could look through. The hydrogen was so cold it developed some metallic properties. And thereby it protected the earth from ultraviolet radiation, produced much higher percentage, over maybe 30% more oxygen, so things grew well, lived a lot longer, and things grew a lot larger, including humans. So much for that. The Bible isn't saying you're looking at today's sky in terms of what it created. You're looking at the sky today after the flood. So a lot of skeptics will say, look around the earth. Was the earth created the way it says in the Bible? It wasn't created that way. No, look around. If you keep reading, Genesis chapter 6, not just Genesis chapters 1 and 2, the worldwide flood created a massive difference in the way the earth appears today. We have no shallow seas that were then dominant, and no low hills instead of now huge mountain ranges, and weather is destructive and not conducive to longevity and healthy lifestyles. Mankind in the garden was at peace with one another, but as Adam and Eve sinned in the garden, then there's a disruption and evil from then on in. And that's what you're looking at. That's not what God created, but that's what God permitted humans who were supposed to cooperate with His rule, but they were given free will, and they didn't cooperate, and that's what the earth is today because of what started with mankind, who was put in charge of the earth. And then we have the fallen angels, which enhanced it all the more. They were created at that time. And a number of angels decided, they're having free will as well, decided to go against what God said. So you're looking at today's earth, it's not as created. That doesn't mean you throw out the Bible, because if you keep reading the Bible, you find out what I just spoke of from Genesis 6 on. So it should be understood that the Hebrews, like all ancient Near Eastern cultures, lacked the scientific terminology we use to describe things today. As all our intelligence we have today, we use it to develop our own ignorance. We should not expect descriptions of tectonic plates or of molten lava. Hebrew lacked the specific words that are often used today to describe cosmological phenomena. Yet even today, non-technical words are used to describe the world figuratively. Terms today are in ancient times were used for reporting cosmological phenomena, such as reporting that the sun rises or sets or expressions referring to the extent of the horizon as being flat and finite, when the context is limited to describing what one visually observes of a cosmological phenomenon. On TV today, you get your weather report, and it's as if that's limited to what mankind can see on the planet. Well, it doesn't mean that they think the Earth is flat. So the Earth does appear flat and finite as you look at it from your own particular perspective. Keywords which would have been most useful in describing cosmological phenomena. So we will not address certain words and verses that use phenomenological language, sunset, sunrise, or references to sun and stars moving, as we still use such terms today. In spite of hundreds of years of knowing better, it should not reflect badly upon the use of such language in the Bible. Now to the verses in question. We will use the King James Version as our English citation source for the most part here, since it is the one most commonly used by skeptics in this arena. In any case, the heavens are portrayed as having been stretched. Some descriptions of the sky in the Bible indicate to skeptics that some sort of solid mass is involved. Jeremiah 10:12, He hath made the earth by His power, He hath established the world by His wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by His discretion. Note the word world here in the Hebrew text, tebel. We look at this below. It is He that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. Even today one can legitimately describe the sky, that the sky has the stretched out heavens with respect to what the humans can observe. The sky, in fact, does appear to spread out over us as a curtain. Such a great expanse often makes one feel as small as a grasshopper. None of this, to be taken literally, is figurative, unless we are all actually bug-eyed grasshoppers. Do these imply a physical dome or some sort? Actually, it is not possible to determine one way or another, for the Hebrews, like many cultures of this time, lacked a one-word concept of infinite physical space. With that in mind, we may ask how they would describe the sky as it exists from their own perspective, and metaphor is the most probable choice. We surmise that that's figurative language. We surmise that the sky as a stretched space or object comes as close to capturing infinity as one can without the word concept. But is there any less ambiguous assertion about the sky? Some note verses like this. Praise ye the Lord, praise God in His sanctuary, praise Him in the firmament of His power. The word here which we render firmament is rakia, the firmament or apparently visible arch of the sky. It's a firmament. It looks like an arch, especially when you see nighttime stars. Open up a telescope, but astronomers will still turn around even visualizing it in this telescope as somewhat of a visible arch. Indications are, however, that this rakia is not always the solid structure that firmament implies. On the other hand, rakia can refer to a solid mass, as in the ancient world solid water, ice, canopy that was situated above the earth in pre-flood days. And I just described that briefly at the beginning, but you can take a look at this. Before the flood, the Earth's protective supercold metallic fiber optic crystalline ice canopy. Wow. Yep. Where did all that water come from? We have evidence of that. Look, the continental shelves. The shelf is the shallow seas right off the surface, the edge, the beaches of the 7 continents. Shallow seas going miles deep right after that. Well, that looks like extra water because the landmass is underneath the shallow seas, but it's dipped down a couple of 100 feet, 300-400 feet, some places even less. And then all of a sudden it goes down miles. So there's evidently a certain amount of water that covered the continents, and looks like the continents fit all together in one landmass. And there we have where did that water come from? Underneath caverns, evidently, because we have subterranean caverns, and up in the sky, because there's evidence of marine sea life on the tops of mountains. Where'd that sea life get to? Were those mountains uplifted? Well, we already know about uplifting. We have modern day records, and that only go back several centuries, that talk about mountain ranges being evidently formed with sudden earth-like moments, like earthquakes, and continental shifts in the surface of the earth that could create something in a matter of very short time, matter of even moments. Right now we have one of the oldest volcanoes in the earth in Hawaii acting up again, and we have the Mount St. Helens that completely changed the surrounding topography in a very short time. So where did some of that water go? If it did come from above, if it was way, way, way up there, we could have had a water vapor. Well, water vapor would block out the sun entirely. Then all life would, plant life and human life, wouldn't exist. You have to have the sun's light rays so that plant life can exist and grow and repopulate. And mankind needs his food. Animals need the food. So without the plants, we don't have life. So there's something up there, but it wasn't water vapor. It had to allow the sunlight in. And the best example of that would be ice. Super cold, metallic fiber optic crystalline ice canopy, letting in the productive rays of the sun to let life grow, and then cover the earth with a canopy so that the oxygen level was much, much higher, and people and animals and plants grew to be huge. And we had a very, very, very harmonious life. So, it could be. Look what Dr. Ball says in his book. These verses, Genesis 1:1-2, show that even on the first day of creation, before God created light, God created the earth in a watery form. And this is extremely important. Studies done by renowned physicists such as Dr. Russell Humphreys show that each molecule of water possesses a small electromagnetic field. When these molecules are aligned, the result is a composite electromagnetic charge of all the molecules of water that are aligned. When all of these molecules are in complete composite alignment, you have the composite energy of all the molecules. This is just science. God began by creating the earth first in all the universe, even before creating the electromagnetic spectrum of light into the heavenly bodies such as the sun and the stellar heavens. There is strong indication that God first created the earth as a sphere of water. The life forms that God would create on day number 3, vegetation, plants, and trees, being in botanical form, would require this water. On day number 5, God would design the fish and fowl. Each of these creatures would require this water. On day 6, God would create insects, dinosaurs, man, and women, before the day was finished. So, this Dr. Humphreys says, God creates a large 3D space, and within it a ball of liquid water, the deep. The ball is greater than 2 light years in diameter, large enough to contain all the mass of the universe. 2 light years is surprisingly small compared to the later size of the universe, but it is still huge, about 12 trillion miles or 20 trillion kilometers, compared to us being more than 1,000 times greater than the diameter of our solar system. Imagine floating on the face of the deep and gazing down into its unimaginable depths. That is why I think God called it the deep, from the man's perspective. Because of the great concentration of matter, this ball of water is deep within a black hole whose event horizon, the point at which light rays trying to escape a black hole bend back on themselves, is more than 500 million light years away. The earth at this point is merely a formless, undefined region of water at the center of the deep, empty of inhabitants or feature. The deep is rotating slowly, but there is no visible light at its surface. At the instant God creates it. Because of the enormous mass of the whole universe that is contained at this point in a ball of relatively small size to the universe size today, the gravitational force of the deep is very strong, more than 1,000,000 trillion Gs. This force compresses the deep very rapidly toward the center, making it extremely hot and dense. The heat rips apart the water molecules, atoms, even the nuclei, into elementary particles. So Dr. Ball continues. On day number 3, God would create the other elements in perfect balance. He created the botanical life forms, full bloom of the seeds within the life form. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters and let it divide the waters from the waters. Interesting.